Wouldn't it be wonderful if we didn't have to go to public meetings, public hearings, protests, demonstrations to protect the eastern slopes for our future generations? Together we could do that. And just like you and thousands of other Albertans, I really love the eastern slopes of the Rocky Mountains. And right now, I think there's a question that's on all of our minds. And that question is, are the eastern slopes being managed for the best public interest? Are our public lands being managed to protect our wildlife, our wilderness, and our watershed? Or are they being managed just to ensure that big corporate interests will get what they want out of them?
Okay, Tanitapi, Nitaiko Adam Northbegan, Pikani. Want to welcome you to Treaty 7 Pikani First Nation. I'm the chairman of the Pikani First Nation Mountain Child Valley Society. We're an advocacy group that is working to oppose coal exploration on the eastern slopes of the Rocky Mountains. Even though Grassy Mountain is in Crow's Nest Pass, off of the reserve system, the Indian Act reserve system, it's still within our traditional ancestral territory. Our concern is that, with coal exploration moving forward on the eastern slopes, that it's going to decimate our waterways, the headwater. We are, in favor of economic security. We are in favor of jobs, but not with coal exploration. So we have a responsibility to do what we need to do to protect Mother Earth.
This is the original water source for the municipality of Crow's Nest Pass. The rights to this water were granted in 1911. And it's these rights that the town of Crow's Nest Pass wants to sell to Northback for the washing of coal. They would actually take the water out of the Crow's Nest River further down, but it's the rights to this water that they're selling. The municipality owns 586,000 cubic meters per year of this water. But this is our heritage, this is a legacy. This council does not have the right to throw away this legacy for the sake of mining coal that's going to send profits to Australia and steel-making coal to China and Korea. This is our water, you keep it.
The mining company has said there'll be no dust, no coal dust at the loadout, and that's impossible. I've worked in all kinds of mining industries over the last 50 years. There is no dust-free mining. Their loadout plan is to load coal within 200 yards from our hospital. So people are trying to recover and or spend their final days 200 yards from a coal loadout. There'll be a 1.5 mile long train loading coal 24 hours a day and admitted 50 decibels of noise in the town of Blairmore 24 hours a day. I'm not too sure why anybody would want that. We'll have a blasting schedule, but it will throw a lot of dust in the air, and that dust will go 50 miles pretty much. I mean, Window Mountain Lake is contaminated with selenium from the dust of the mines in BC. Teck has spent at least $1.5 billion to repair, remediate that selenium damage, and I think they're getting out of coal because they realize they really can't get it to a good level.
Yeah, when I think about Northback and what they want to do to the eastern slopes, that's a tough pill to swallow. I discovered the southern Alberta and the Crow's Nest Pass, and there's just nothing like it. It's just so diverse with the waterways, with all the natural amenities that attract people here, from backcountry skiing and fly fishing, mountain biking, just everything that an outdoorsman would want is here. And to give that up to mines, in our headwaters is insane. Waters are most important commodity, and it's without it nothing happens. I mean, it needs to be protected, and so hopefully we can do that.
Those of us who are concerned about protecting this environment are in a constant fight year after year with our provincial government in order to protect what you see behind me here and the ranges to the west. We need a change in management of this resource all the way from the Crow's Nest Pass to Banff National Park. The doctrine of multiple use, which I refer to and others do as the doctrine of multiple abuse, it seems to present the idea that we can be everywhere all the time doing anything on the east slope, and with no concern for the cumulative effects of our actions. We need a different way forward. We need legislation that would actually protect the area.
My name is Catherine Rockstall. I'm a faculty here at the University of Calgary, and my specialty is wildlife behavior. And if you think about that, many of the species that now inhabit the eastern slopes and Rockies actually used to be prairie species. They used to be very abundant, but now they're not anymore because they've already been pushed into these areas, and now we're encroaching more and more on them, building more roads, which automatically means that they need to go somewhere else. Where do they go? You know, there's not that many spaces left in the southern Rockies where they could go. So that, I think, is a big problem. So if we can protect the entire east slopes, you know, that would mean that, you know, populations that might be fragmented right now, they could reconnect, they could settle in areas that they're currently not able to for whatever reason, so that you have this continuity.
You know, the eastern slopes do not belong to the Royal Dutch Shell Corporation. They do not belong to Northback Benga. They do not belong to West Fraser Sawmills. They belong to you and me. And we have a responsibility to our children and to our grandchildren to make sure that what we pass on to them is at least as good as what we have enjoyed for our lifetime. The Timberwolf Wilderness Society is going to develop legislation, write legislation along with the public interest law clinic starting this fall.
It's one thing to push the federal government to implement legislation like the Species at Risk Act to protect endangered species in the region, but none of that match what effective provincial legislation would achieve. This proposal for effective legislation to protect the eastern slopes, I think, is vitally important. All the work that we've done, that others have done, all the advocacy, really pushing at the margins, if you like, to address what is really the fundamental problem, which is that Alberta's legislative framework governing the eastern slopes is far too discretionary. And the multiple use ideology which successive provincial governments and agencies over the decades has followed has led to a patchwork of damaged habitat and death by 1,000 cuts, whatever you want to call it. But the eastern slopes is basically just being destroyed piece by piece. Effective legislation would be legislation that looks at the region holistically, takes on an ecosystem approach, removes the discretion on government officials to approve projects on an individual basis that have impacts and contribute cumulatively to the harm that we've seen happen along the eastern slopes. We're happy to help Timberwolf achieve its objective in that regard.
The people at the Piikani First Nation, especially coming from the membership, we would actually like to see legislation that's developed, that protects the environment for many generations to come. And it's something that we would very much support, and we would very much like to be a part of a partner in developing what that legislation would look like.
So much of our lives depend on the water from these mountains and foothills. We really need to protect them. We can't live here without that water. And it's hard to understand why it's taking us so long to get around to realizing that we have to protect the watersheds of the Rocky Mountains and foothills.